In the name of God. Being at the bank.
Jake walked into the bank to open a new account. He saw a paper on the counter with information about banking services. The clock on the wall showed 9:30 a.m. He carried his bag with important documents inside. A bank clerk sat at a desk, ready to assist him. Jake pulled a chair and sat down. The bank clerk smiled and asked, "How can I help you?" "I'd like to open a bank account," Jake said. The bank clerk nodded and asked for his ID. Jake took his ID from his bag and placed it on the table. The clerk looked at the board behind her to check requirements. She picked up a pen and wrote down Jake's details. A customer next to them was using an eraser to correct a mistake. The clerk asked Jake to sign the form. Jake was given a pencil to fill out the form. He carefully wrote his information. One subject on the form asked if he had an existing account. He put a cross in the no box. The clerk said, "I will now check your details in our system." While waiting, Jake saw a woman taking notes in her diary. A man nearby was reading a dictionary. The clerk said, "Everything looks good. I will teach you about your new account." She handed Jake a brochure and asked him to read it carefully. Jake used his pen to write down questions on the back. The clerk advised him to study the terms before signing. Jake thought, "This is like learning from a book at school." He thanked the clerk for explaining. Jake asked, "How long will my card take?" The clerk said, "It will arrive in 5 days." He thought about his class on financial planning next week. His teacher had explained money management in the classroom. He planned to discuss banking at school with his friends. This experience felt like an important lesson. He knew financial knowledge would help him in the future. Before leaving, Jake made a note to check his email for the bank card. He planned to read more about online banking. His teacher often said, "If you want to be good at something, practice it." Jake knew managing money was a skill that needed learning. He felt confident about handling his account. This was his first step toward financial independence. After leaving the bank, Jake walked past a library. He remembered his course on personal finance and wanted to find a book about saving money. Inside, he saw a boy asking the librarian, "Can you teach me how to find books?" The librarian smiled and helped him. Jake picked up a book and sat down to read. He took out a notebook to write some important points. Jake wanted to study smart ways to save money. He found a book about budgeting and started reading. A girl sitting next to him was preparing for her class by taking notes. She looked up and asked, "Are you interested in personal finance?" Jake nodded and showed her the book. "I learned about this topic in my class," she said. They discussed different ways to save money. The girl explained that she learned about saving at school. Jake realized this was an important lesson for life. They talked about managing expenses and setting financial goals. The librarian walked by and smiled, seeing them engaged in learning. Jake wrote some final notes in his book. He thanked the girl for the advice. At home, Jake decided to do his homework on banking. His teacher had assigned a task to research financial literacy. He opened his laptop and started reading articles. He wrote a short report about what he had learned. The next day, he would present it in class. His younger brother walked in and asked, "What are you studying?" Jake smiled and explained. The next day, Jake arrived at school early. He met his teacher and said, "I'm ready for my presentation." His teacher asked him to stand in front of the board. Jake spoke confidently about what he had learned at the bank. His classmates listened carefully. After he finished, the teacher said, "That was a great example of real-life learning." After class, the teacher asked the students to practice money management skills. They played a game where they had to budget their expenses. Jake enjoyed the game and felt more prepared for real-life banking. He also helped a friend by explaining the rules. The teacher gave them a new test about banking terms. Jake felt ready to take it. Jake took the test and answered all the questions. He felt proud of himself. The teacher checked the answers and gave feedback. "You did well," she said. After class, Jake went to the library again. He checked out a new dictionary to learn more banking terms. He knew that learning never stopped. At home, Jake reviewed his notes. He decided to create a financial plan for himself. He listed his savings goals and expenses. He checked his bank's website to learn about different account types. His parents were proud of him for taking responsibility. "You're becoming very independent," his dad said. Jake felt excited about the future. A week later, Jake received his bank card in the mail. He went back to the bank to activate it. The bank clerk helped him set up online banking. "Now, you can manage your money easily," she said. Jake thanked her and smiled. He was proud of how much he had learned. This was just the beginning of his financial journey.
Like and subscribe if you would like.